All right, everyone. So we are creeping up pretty quickly to 12:05. So I think we can get started. For those that are attending, thank you so much for joining us. For those that are going to be watching this on our recording, thank you for watching as well. Hopefully, you get some good information and actionable content here. Today, Kyle and we are going to be talking all about the freehold projects that we have in Calgary and really want to highlight some of the happenings to bring focus as to why this is a great investment opportunity. And also delighted to share the different projects we have along with answering your questions. So I think we can get started. I'm going to make a mistake now when I push this button. It better slide. Here we go. Introduction. We're going to do a quick recap on why buy Calgary. We will also highlight the real estate market currently. The news for March just came out yesterday, so it's going to be brand new data, up-to-date data. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to discuss the opportunities available. So let's begin with introductions. So we are Remax Wealth Builders, consisting of Alex Wilson, who's not on the call. He's our broker owner, Kyle DeVigi, and myself. And since 2019, since we started selling Calgary, we have helped over 1,200 people invest in the Calgary pre-construction market. And that has added up to over $450 million in pre-construction units. Our goal is to eclipse the $500 million mark this year, which I'm sure we will do. And more importantly than our sales history, it's our investment in the city itself as well. So our team collectively, we have invested in 20 pre-construction properties in Calgary. So again, we walk the talk, not just selling the product, but we're buying into them as well. I'm Nish Disanaika, and I begin by always sharing that I have invested in 7 of those 20 properties out in Calgary. And some of you may have heard, I took possession of my most recent property, which is number 3, yesterday. It was a townhouse in the Northeast. And I'm a licensed realtor in Alberta and Ontario. I also have my resale business happening, which has afforded me the opportunity to be recognized in the 1% of realtors for overall sales last year, and that's out of 73,000 agents. And along with my resale business, I've sold just over 200 pre-construction properties out there since I started back in 2021. And prior to that, I was working in the corporate world. Not going to dig into that too much, but I was in that sector. Thankfully, I pivoted over to real estate, both on the investment side, but also being able to help my clients buy properties. I was able to pretty much quadruple my investment portfolio in a matter of 18 months. And I did this by focusing on the Calgary market. And in terms of transparency, we like to share our portfolio with everybody. You'll notice that my first 2 properties back in 2006 and 2017, well, you're not going to notice this, but I'm going to say it, were in Toronto, followed by the next 7 properties. They've all been in Alberta, in Calgary, buying pre-construction, using a small down payment, allowing a low capital cost to actually afford me some significant gains in the years to come. And my portfolio currently is worth just over $5 million. And in 30 years, and we're saying 30 years because we are going to have mortgages on all these properties, in 30 years, only factoring in a very conservative 3% year-over-year growth, that portfolio should be worth about $12.5 million. So there's my background, and I'm going to pass this on to my colleague and partner, Kyle DeVigi.
Hi, everyone. My name is Kyle DeVigi, and similar to Niche, I am licensed in Alberta and Ontario as well. I'm a broker at Remax Wealth Builders and owner of CondoMillionaire.com. I've been an investor since 2012. I now own 7 different properties across Canada, but I didn't start in real estate. Before real estate, I had a regular day job. Well, maybe not quite regular, but I used to do the draws for Lotto 639 and Lotto Max, running the actual ball draw, so making millionaires from the lottery. And during my time there, I learned that about a third of Canadians were planning to fund their retirement by winning the lottery. Now, I know what the odds of winning are. It's one in multi millions. So for most Canadians, it's not a realistic choice to be able to build a a retirement fund. So I ended up going into real estate, and I want to help people now grow their real estate portfolios. I don't want to sell you any single property. I want to help you grow that portfolio for the next 5, 10, 20 years so that you can retire with financial security. And last year alone, I helped 195 people across Canada to do just that. So I teach people on how to grow that portfolio. I started with that one property, had a deposit of about 38,000, and now I have a portfolio worth about $4.7 million. Nish, if you want to go to the next slide, this is what my actual portfolio looks like. I have 5 properties in Toronto and the GTA, and the last 2 that I purchased were in Calgary. And you know what? The next properties that I purchase are going to be in Calgary too, because I strongly believe in real estate long term in major Canadian cities, and Calgary is where you are seeing the growth.
And Kyle, you mentioned you did 195 people last year, but in total, you're probably coming up to close to 500 total pre-construction sales, right?
Yep, pretty close now.
Fantastic. That's crazy. So listen, he's putting his money where his mouth is, just like everyone else on our team is. So definitely worth having a conversation about that. So now let's take a look at reasons why we decided to invest in Calgary. Kyle, did you want to maybe take us through some of the highlights here?
Absolutely. Calgary continues to be ranked as one of the top cities in Canada and even across North America to live. It continues to rank very, very high on income. There's very high median wages there, very high education, very good livability, but affordability is, I think, what's driving most people there nowadays. Real estate prices are just incredibly cheap compared to the rest of Canada, but you still have a very strong economy. Alberta is looking to lead economic growth in 2023 and this year in 2024, and even looking out further. So when you add all of that together, tons of green spaces, you have Banff and real mountains where you can go skiing, snowboarding, that sort of stuff, very low cost of living. It's attracting so many people to Calgary.
Yeah, great point. So let's kind of take a look at what this is doing to the overall real estate market in Calgary. So one of the reasons why we are seeing the growth that we're seeing in Calgary is due to the increase in population. Now, last year, Alberta, they increased their population by net increase by over 200,000 people. That's 200,000 more people moved into Alberta than left. Again, a net increase. A quarter of those people, so about 55,000 of those additional heads that came into Calgary were from other provinces in Canada. That's interprovincial migration. Alberta and I think PEI and New Brunswick were the only other provinces that had a net increase of people moving into their province versus moving out. And combined PEI and New Brunswick, I think they were only about 11,000 people, whereas Alberta had 55,000 people from other provinces moving in. So that kind of gives you some insight as to what's happening. And this trend is expected to grow. Like we're expecting Alberta to surpass BC within the next 20 years, right? 20, 25 years or so is what we anticipate. And the majority of that growth that Alberta is going to experience is going to be in Calgary. Calgary is a world-class city, has an international airport, as Kyle mentioned earlier. This is where people want to live. And there's a few reasons why. And maybe, Kyle, before we get into some of the stats, did you want to kind of talk about all the reasons why people are finding Calgary as a better destination to move, especially if you're talking about from Toronto or from Vancouver?
Yeah, the biggest one is just affordability. You know, in Toronto, for $500,000, I might be able to get you a studio nowadays that's 350 square feet without parking. In Calgary, I can nearly get you a 4-bedroom townhome for that. So when people come into these major cities, they're still very attractive. Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal, even Ottawa, Kitchener, they're just so expensive. And as an investor, you just can't make the numbers work on those. So lot of people moving to Calgary, and I talk to these people every single day that are actually picking up, leaving, and moving to Calgary, moving their entire families, moving their life over there.
Yeah, and Kyle, even when you talk about the comparison of what, 500,000, what that can get you, a studio in Toronto or in Vancouver might get you maybe 1,600 to $1,800 a month in rent. And what would the equivalent be of a townhouse, a 4-bedroom townhouse? Like, what's that going for?
Like 23, 24, I've even seen 2,600 a month, plus the
Yeah.
utilities that the tenant's responsible for as well. So it's a no-brainer when you're looking at those sorts of investments. Like Calgary is where you have to be.
Yeah, 100%. I think people are starting to realize this now, which is actually reflected in some additional stats that we have. And this is fresh off the presses. This is from March. So just a couple of days ago, the housing stats came out for Calgary. And as you can see, the benchmark price, which is the overall combination of different dwellings, compared to the same dwelling types from previous years, the benchmark price has gone up by almost 10%. So we've now surpassed $600,000 as the benchmark price in Calgary. The number of sales have gone up by 7.3%, just under 3,000 sales in March. The number of listings have gone up, but the inventory is going down. That means people are buying faster than people are listing. And that's why I think it's been now maybe 9 months in a row where Calgary has seen what's called a seller's market, where the months of supply are less than, what's the cutoff line? Is it 3 months, 90 days, 120 days
Depends,
to
kind
be
of
in the
four
seller's market?
months is what I've
4 months,
often
yeah,
seen.
120
Yeah, 4
days
to
or
6 is
whatever.
balanced.
Perfect. So we're essentially under 1 month's worth of supply. So the inventory is decreasing compared to last year by almost 22%. And we're talking about these properties staying on the market for less than 3 weeks. Like this is Toronto back in 2020 April.
I think it's even
Right?
up
Remember?
like below that, like even hotter
Whew.
than Toronto was in the peak. 20 days? That's wild.
Yeah,
Wild.
yeah, exactly. And this is the combination of all the different types of properties, right? Not just the hot, brand new ones that people want to get their hands on. This is an average of all the different opportunities that are out there. So I know we're going to focus more on the freeholds, but let's take a look at some of the different product types under the freehold category, so you can actually see where some of those increases are happening. So if we look at the overall average price, which is different than benchmark price, we're looking at just under 600,000. And that was an annual increase of over 11% and just over 2% increase from February. The detached properties, they're the ones that are now above $800,000. Kyle, could we have ever guessed when we started doing these webinars that detached prices in Calgary would be above 800K?
It's pretty wild. And that's where Calgary actually used to be more expensive than Toronto back, 10, 20 years ago. So you're seeing Calgary start to catch up. Like it's still not even close. There's still a long, huge gap to go, but you're inching back towards that. And I expect that to continue. To continue.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's directly related to the increase in the population, right? When there's more demand and supply is in there, then you're going to have prices go up. And we're seeing that as well in the semi-detached category, just under $700,000, 689K, 12.2% increase versus last year. And what's really phenomenal about these two stats is on the resale market today, the prices are more than the comparable pre-construction properties that you can buy that will be ready in another year, year and a half. So if you were to apply even half of the annual increases to what you're seeing in properties today, the property that you're going to buy today that's less expensive than the resale market, imagine the growth that you will experience when you take possession of that property. It might even be, again, I don't want to speculate, but again, you can do the math. It's going to be a pretty significant win. Now, the price increases are also coupled with an increase in transactions as well. it's not that, you know, people aren't buying and that's why the prices are sorry, it's not like there isn't enough supply, so the price is skyrocketing. People are still buying, and the number of transactions are more than they were last year, and we're also seeing month-over-month increases as well. So pretty much the data that we look at when we make decisions as investors, that information is also pointing us in the right direction in terms of invest now before it gets a bit out of hand. So that is the detached and semi-detached categories, which pretty much make up for the largest chunk of the freehold sector that we're focusing on today. But also wanted to share that it's not just the freehold sector that's seeing the boom. We're also seeing equivalent price increases in townhomes and the condo sector. Like the numbers are right there. You're seeing annual increases in the double digits. And some of these increases are closing up on 20% versus last year. Townhomes especially, 22.5%. That's phenomenal. And last year wasn't a bad year for townhomes. I think we were setting records last year as well. So again, the numbers are looking good. And thankfully, if freeholds aren't your thing, we have options for townhomes and condos as well. Kyle, anything you'd like to add to this?
And what we're seeing is affordability continues to be the challenge across Canada. And the affordable options in each of the different categories, so houses, townhomes, and condos, are what has been performing the best. Until interest rates go down significantly, I expect the affordable options to continue to outperform. So when you see, condos at 11% increase, some of the affordable areas are up 20 to 30% in some cases because they were just ridiculously cheap, sort of thing. So that's where working with an expert like myself or like Niche, we can find you those value opportunities where we see that potential, because these are blending stats and everything is not made equal.
Absolutely. Great point, Kyle. And we also have teammates on the ground in Calgary that can talk more granularly about the different neighborhoods and communities. So, we can get into as much detail into the communities that we have options in. So certainly want to support you pretty much 360 degrees, whatever you need us for, whether it's educational or if you're going to visit Calgary and you want to take a tour, we have the help to make that happen. All right, so let's dig into freeholds a little bit, and let's take a look at what's been happening over the last couple of years. So this data is taken from the Canadian Real Estate Association, and I wanted to show the two-story trajectory of the prices starting from December of 2022. So for the last almost 2.5 years, you can see that the price have either consistently gone up, they flattened a little bit, but they're going back up again. So prices back in 2022 were under $620,000. And now, as we talked about, the overall average is over $800,000. Every quarter, we've seen an increase, and we're seeing sharper increases as the population grows. And this is all happening during a time where interest rates have been the highest they've ever been in decades. We know that the interest rates are going to start to stabilize, and some are predicting that in June, the interest rates will slowly start to drop. When this happens, the affordability factor is going to be more of a variable and more of a factor in people's decision to buy out there, which means that the price points are going to go even higher. So again, another good time to invest. Kyle, do you want to talk about some of the options available and why the freehold properties are
Absolutely
of high
so
value?
When everything is equal, the vast majority of people prefer owning a detached house, a white picket fence, a large yard. That's the Canadian dream. And that is never going to go away, in my opinion. Home ownership is embedded in the Canadian conscience, and it's always going to be something that is desirable. So, especially when you can get a pre-construction brand new property that's not even built yet at the exact same prices or even a little bit cheaper that we're seeing as existing properties, this is the upside down. This should not exist. It should always be more expensive because it's always more expensive to build today than it was yesterday. So this is a huge opportunity to buy brand new without the premium that you normally see, and that absolutely exists in just about any other market, major market in Canada. You have detached and semi-detached, or duplex as they call them in Calgary, significantly growing in value, double digits like we just went over. And that months of supply, 0.94, I think it was, that is incredibly, incredibly low. And when you have that tight of a market, it means people are competing. You're starting to see bidding wars for units in Calgary. It's not happening for condos, but it is starting to happen for some of the best freehold properties. And that's something that didn't happen in Calgary, up to very recently. You used to be able to go and shop and negotiate on the price. Nowadays, it's flipped around where you have 10 people that want that same property. We just sold a semi-detached property for one of my clients, and they sold it, I think, in 2 days in multiple offers. Record price for the community. That's the sort of thing that you're seeing now. Kind of that stuff that we've seen in Toronto for the last 5 or so years. Very, very little of that activity sort of happening today, but now that's happening in Calgary, and that's real. If you can get a legal basement unit in the house as well, that's like the holy grail, because it's going to benefit you in 2 ways. If you're an investor, you now have 2 units that you can rent out. And for they're typically about 75,000 plus tax to complete it. That is going to get you around 1,400 a month, give or take. That is the best possible real estate investment you are ever going to make for the amount of rent per dollar invested. It is unbeatable. Show me anything better. Will not happen.
Yeah, $1,400. That's a studio. That's a $500,000 studio in Toronto. So
And
you're
a
getting
crappy
that
one
for,
nowadays, like
yeah,
in
you're
an
getting
old
that
building,
for
like
1/6 of the price. You're getting that.
exactly. So very attractive. If you're an end user, you can now rent out the basement, and that rent will cover about half of your mortgage payment. So that helps you qualify for mortgages as well, because now you have extra income coming in, and it's going to be very, very attractive. As prices continue to go up. In Toronto, it was the grail if it had an extra unit that you could help pay for that mortgage, because housing prices got so expensive. So you're really future-proofing yourself by having that legal basement unit in the house as well.
And also, where do you not um, fight for units? There's no price bidding and price wars when you buy pre-construction. You're not competing. You're competing with inventory, but you're not competing against other buyers for the sale price. There's a fixed rate and a fixed price that you buy that for. So opportunities and to, I think, pretty similar to the client that you were talking about that sold their semi. Currently, we have properties that we sold last year in May of 2023 that are about $120,000 to $130,000 more today on the resale market for the same exact property that was purchased 12 months ago. And we're seeing that trajectory continue. So yeah, it definitely is one of those property types that you want to consider heavily, because your return is going to be much quicker than some of the other properties, which are fine that we have, but you'll be able to see your money work for you faster and at a higher rate in these types of properties than some of the ones that we have that are 3 or 4 years out. So let's kind of take a look at the 4 different options that we have in the freehold category market. We have our newest freehold property, rear detached homes in Bridgeport, which is in Chestermere, which is East Calgary. It's going to eventually be amalgamated with Calgary. So you're just looking at the city right adjacent to Calgary proper. There's also the Rangeview properties, which we're in phase 4. Rangeview is the project that I just referred to, where the price increase was over $120,000 versus last year. Rangeview does allow the basement option. You can add a basement suite, a legal basement suite with a separate entrance. We also have the Walden front drive detached that has the basement option. The Chelsea, unfortunately, they have sold out from the time we put this presentation together to the time that we're presenting it, which is 24 hours. that project unfortunately is not available. So we'll focus on the three that we have. Kyle, if you want to handle any of these, feel free to. It's up to you.
Sure.
You want to take on Bridgeport?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the latest release by Truman, the newest project to come out. These are rear drive, meaning there's a lane in behind the house that you're going to use to access either the parking pad or the detached garage. They have a little yard in between and then the house. These are ideal, kind of what everyone is looking for in the community. It's a very solid layout. They're typically 3-bedroom plus den, like you can see. All of the bedrooms are good sizes. You have very large living and dining area and a great kitchen. These are coming in anywhere from about 570,000 up to about 605,000, depending on the size of the unit. There's a little bit difference in the square foot sizes, from about 1,400 and a half to about 1,600 square feet. You can do multiple deposits, 10% or 20% down. That's broken up over 270 days. If you do put down the 20%, then you're getting the 2-car garage at a discount. It's 19,500 versus 41,000 plus tax. About half of these properties have just that parking pad. About half do have the garage. Now, this is Calgary. You know, they have cold winters. Definitely nice to have that detached garage. That's a huge selling feature, and you can actually get more in rent for the house as well if you do it. Probably about $200 extra a month. So it's something that we tend to recommend, but it's not going to make or break anything if you don't want to include it and don't want to spend the extra money. These are really, really good, solid options for investments. And this is really the cheapest detached property that you're going to get 25 minutes from downtown Calgary for pre-construction. It's unbeatable. They do come with an unfinished basement. And unfortunately, you can't put the legal basement unit in it, but who knows if that's going to change. You know, talk to us. There's different options available where, you know, might be able to work something out. And the bylaw might change that prevents the restrictions for the basement unit today as well. So huge, huge upside potential here too. And if Chestermere ever does get amalgamated by Calgary, which, you know, both of us think it eventually will, it's going to become part of Calgary and one of the most affordable areas. And I think then, you know, prices are going to jump up quite a bit because of that.
Yeah, great point. I have a couple of clients that have freehold properties in Chestermere, and they've just opted after taking possession to put in the basement. And when it becomes legal, they'll be able to advertise it, save a ton of money on the cost, because as soon as the developer or a contractor is able to put in a basement legally, the price is going to go up for that work. So people can finish off the basement because it's, you know, their property. They can put it in now before the prices go up. Contractors are hired to do this, and you can use that as a secondary living space for the existing family, whether it's yourself or, you know, the tenant that you have on the main floor. And then as soon as things change, the bylaws change, then it can be advertised and marketed as a legal income suite.
And Chestermere is a very attractive area. It has a very high net worth. What is it, 150,000 household income?
Yeah, it's
Most
creeping
people,
close to 200 now.
yeah, most people are in management or finance. Like these are higher level people. So amazing communities, very family oriented. You're about, you know, a few minute drive to Lake Chestermere, which is a watercraft lake. You can do sports on it, beaches, everything like that. You're only a few minute drive to East Hills Shopping Complex, which is nearly 1 million square feet of retail. That includes a Costco, a Walmart, tons of different shops, banks, food, everything that you need there. You also have the Purple rapid bus transit line going through parts of Chestermere as well now. It's been recently expanded into the city to do a loop. So very attractive community.
Yeah, yeah, great point. And de Havilland, they're 10 minutes away from this build site. De Havilland is a large water, what is it called? Water bombers,
Water
airplanes?
bombers, yeah, airplanes.
Water bombers. So relocated from Toronto, from Downsview, 1,200 positions and 1,200 employees were and are being transferred from Toronto to Chestermere for this new site, which will include the manufacturing plant along with their corporate offices. So that's going to add additional population and more need for housing in Chestermere. And of course, this Bridgeport property is literally within 8 minutes of that built site. So if people want to live in a neighborhood, a family-friendly neighborhood that's close to their work, this is where they'll be. So that's Bridgeport. Walden. Oh, okay. You want me to have Walden?
Sure.
Perfect. So Walden is it's actually between the border of the southeast and the southwest of Calgary. And it is a slightly higher price point than the other freehold properties that we have. It's ranging anywhere between the low 700s to about $840,000. These are large homes. You're looking at 24 to 2,800 square feet. They come with either 4-bedroom, 3.5 bathroom. If you're looking at including the legal income suite, there's also a pretty large flex space, a den. And these properties are ready for basement suites, but you are adding another $75,000 front drive. So the garage is attached to the property, so you don't have to pay any extra for the garage. It's already going to be there. And in terms of the down payment option, pretty flexible. There's a 5% and a 10% down payment plan. Your initial deposit is going to be $15,000. And depending on which plan you go, if you go with the 5%, you're paying off the balance of that 5% in 2 months. If you go with the 10% plan, then you will be allowed to have 6 months to come up with the other 7.5%, and then the final 2.5% in 9 months, 280 days. These are going to be closing within the first and second quarter of 2025. I don't know what QW means. That's probably a grammatical error on my end. QW. So yeah, you're looking at about a year from now. The Walden properties are going to be available, and I believe there's only about 8 properties left. So I didn't have the floor plans up here because there's about 7 or 8 different floor plans available. We can certainly talk about them in more detail for those that are interested in the Walden properties. But again, phenomenal area. You have a large lot, probably the largest lots of any of our freehold properties. They're going to be anywhere from about a 25 to 30, maybe even larger frontage, and the depth is about 140 in terms of the depth of the property. And you're typically going to be backing onto a ravine in Walden, so it does allow for a ton of green space, something to look at from the back of your property.
And unless you're building a custom home in Calgary, this is really the best of the best sort of thing. Big house, very nice finishings, large lot sizes. So very attractive.
Absolutely. And finally, we have our range view properties. Again, we're in phase 4, and I think probably within Calgary proper, Kyle, the best bang for your buck.
100%.
Yeah, fantastic. So they start off the semi-detached properties in Rangeview, which is also southeast Calgary. You're about maybe 8 to 10 minutes east of Walden, and you're looking at a starting price point of $669,000 plus GST for the semi-detached, the duplexes, and $699 for the single-family homes. Also, you can add the basement suite, the legal basement suite for $75,000. And looking at the comparable units today that we're talking about that are going on sale from different phases of this project that are now on the resale side of things, the singles are over $800,000, somewhat in line with the average for Calgary, and the semi-detaches are above average. They're over $710,000. These sold for $580-ish last year. So we just anticipate that these prices are going to continue to grow on the resale market come next year when you're ready for possession. There's a 10% down payment plan here. Again, $15,000 to sign within the first 10 days. Then you have 6 months to pay the remainder of the 5%, and then 9 months from date of signing, which is 270 days to come up with the other 5%. And if you go with the 10% option, I think there's a 5% as well. But again, with 10% down, you're going to get a free 2-car garage, something that you want, as we alluded to in the Chelsea properties. You do want a garage because not only will you get higher rental value, but on the resale side of things, if you ever decide to sell, you will be able to see the value of a 2-car garage in a place where it sometimes gets to -50, -60. I think they had a snowstorm last week. what Kripa mentioned to us. So definitely want your vehicles to be sheltered. Great floor plan, very usable. Pretty much every square inch of the floor plan is non-wasted space. The main floors will have your living dining area with the kitchen. You also have a mudroom, and you also have a half bath. And then working your way up to the second level, which is where the master and the owners retreat, and an ensuite, along with two pretty large bedrooms, both in and around the 100 square foot mark. And then you have a pretty large bonus area. It could be a small area to gather, entertainment area on the second level, a library, even an office. So pretty flexible. And there's another full bathroom upstairs that's shared between the second and third floor. And then looking at the basement suite, just under 600 square feet, separate entrance, one bedroom, one bath. Again, very usable. We have 3D tours for all these properties. So if anyone is interested, we'll certainly be able to share the 3D plans with you so you can kind of walk through that and see what the property looks like from the inside. All right. Now, in case the freeholds aren't your cup of tea, we do have some other options. And maybe, Kyle, if you want to briefly just kind of go over what those options are on the condo side of things.
Absolutely. So Clover Condos is the latest condo development that has been released. It's in Northwest in Carrington, which is a relatively new community, but similar to Chestermere, it's very high net worth. Most of the houses in that area are 750 to 850,000 resale. So condos are priced anywhere from about 370 up to about 400,000, pushing over a little bit now. The 3 bedrooms are kind of in the mid fours. Very attractive because it's the affordable option for that area. And if you go back to what we said before, the affordable options in each of the different categories is performing really well. So Clover is in Northwest, one of the most desirable quadrants, but the pricing is very similar to what had sold in Northeast at Mine Condos, in Southeast at Orson Condos. So I get really excited about this project. I think it's the #1 value play in Calgary. 2027, maybe 28 closing, directly across from a future LRT station, very close to a future hospital in the north as well that's being planned. About 20-25 minutes to the downtown core, 10 minutes to the Calgary airport, but very close to all of the amenities and everything that you need for your life as well. Schools, shopping, grocery stores, Costco, all very close nearby. Very strong rentals in this area today too. So at closing, I expect all of those units to be cash flow positive when you actually close on them. So you can't get that in any other market, whereas Calgary, you can continually do it, whether it's a house, whether it's the condos. So very attractive option on the more affordable.
Even at a 7.13, I think my interest rate is, I'm going to be cash flowing on the property I closed yesterday at a plus 7% interest rate. So good luck getting that anywhere else.
Exactly. And then Lincoln Condos is downtown. This is the best of the best, high-end luxury building, 36 stories tall, AAA location downtown. Now, what sets this apart, aside from all of that amazing stuff, it has an incredible amenity package, one of the best I've ever seen, not just in Calgary, but in Canada. It has a concierge, which is normal, but unusual for Calgary. It has an indoor swimming pool, a bowling alley, a karaoke room. It has a gym, a fitness center, an owner's lounge, kids room. You have a kitchen. You have a podcast studio.
A VR gaming room too.
it keeps going. So if anyone's familiar with City Place, the amazing amenities that they have there, people actually search out in Toronto for that building because they want to be able to get into that community. I think it's going to be very similar for this with Lincoln. Plus, you're directly across the street from a Google office, from the IBM Innovation Center. You're going to be walking distance to 2 different LRT stations that are being built through the downtown core. You're about 5-minute walk to the commercial downtown core, about 5-minute walk to 17th Avenue, which is the Red Mile. That's where all the restaurants and nightlife and everything is happening. About 10 minutes to the Saddle Dome and that area as well. So very attractive, very central. But the best part is it comes with a 3-year rental guarantee that is the most generous rental guarantee I have ever seen. with all the incentives at the rental guarantee rate, you're going to be cash flow positive at nearly a 6% mortgage rate. Now that's starting in 2028 when the building is going to be completed, taking you to 2031. So if you want a complete hands-off AAA product, Lincoln is definitely that.
And we have all different unit types still available, the 1, 2, and 3 bedroom options.
Yeah, there's a very good selection of units still available.
Fantastic. And finally, we launched last week the Arabella Townhomes. So Kyle, if you want to finish this off and then we can wrap up with questions.
Absolutely. So Arabella is in Princeton, which is in East Calgary. So if you go straight east from the downtown core, about 20 minutes, not even actually, this one's closer because you're on the highway, about 15 minutes, which is crazy. It's so close. It's like half the time as a lot of the other new communities and townhomes that are being built in Calgary. So if you want convenient access, like this is the one. Again, very close to the East Hill shopping complex. And what gets me excited is this is part of the Belvedere area structure plan. So it's a massive redevelopment of 3,000 acres on the east side of Calgary. There's tons of money being poured into this new community. And it's not just like row houses as far as the eye can see. They're planning it as an integrated community, planning schools in it, sidewalks, cycle lanes, green areas, but shopping, commercial activities as well. So that they're really being planned as kind of all-in-one communities and neighborhoods, but you're still very accessible to all the other parts of Calgary as well. So at 529.9, including the GST, including the 2-car garage, that's part of it, this is incredible value. This would be on the lower end of prices for townhomes, and that's very attractive in that sweet spot of affordability for people looking for a unit. And these are 4 bedrooms. You have 3 upstairs and then 1 on the main level and 2.5 baths. So this is the quintessential townhome in Calgary if you're looking for a townhome investment. Also comes with a 2-year rental guarantee at $2,500 a month for the middle units, $2,575 for the end units, which is very attractive. You have the free property management included, no vacancy, anything like that. So if you want a passive investment and want to take part in the housing sector versus, say, the condos, this is the perfect option to be doing it with.
Yeah, and the rental guarantee, like it's very close to what I'm getting today on both my townhomes, which are pretty much the exact floor plan. I believe the Princeton location is better than where my townhomes are located, and I'm collecting 24 and 24.5 for my 2, which isn't far off, and they're not end units, they're middle units. So the rental guarantee of 2,500 is very close. And listen, for those that want to look at the free market and not be restricted to the rental guarantee, you can opt out. You just got to do it in advance and let us know so we can put through the right documentation for you. But if we're looking at a rental market that's growing in the double-digit figures year over year, comparing 2,400 today to what it will look like in 3 years when these properties are ready, you're going to be well north of 26.5 come time of closing. So with the rental market increasing and the interest rates going down, if I'm able to be cash flowing today on a high interest rate, just think about what you'll be able to take home if you're able to secure a unit like this. Brilliant. Well, thank you, Kyle, for going over all the different options. I was dreading to do that because I hadn't practiced that in a while, so I appreciate you taking the lead on that one. We have now concluded our information delivery component of today's webinar, but definitely want to open it up to questions. So if anyone has anything that you'd like to ask us or any clarification, feel free to type it in the chat and we will take them up. I'll give you all a few minutes to do so. Okay, doesn't seem like we have any questions. I guess we were that thorough.
Well done.
There we go. Fantastic. Well, either way, if you do have questions and you want to get in touch with Kyle, myself, or Alex, our email Addresses are there. Feel free to reach out. We love talking about Calgary. And remember, we're not only selling Calgary, we have invested our hard-earned money in that province, in that city. And we've done the homework, we've done the due diligence. So we're happy to help you. And we have team members on the ground in Calgary that can talk more granularly about the different neighborhoods. So we're here to help. Feel free to reach out anytime. Thank you, everyone, for joining today's webinar, and you will get a recording hopefully within the next 24 hours.
All right, bye, everyone. Take care.
Take care, guys. Ciao.